Talk and Rock Radio, where friends meet at the intersection of life, inspiration, and music. Here's your host, Rick Kern.
Welcome, everyone, to Talk and Rock Radio. My guest today is an incredible songwriter, performer, producer from Long Beach, California. Welcome, Stephen McClintock.
Hey, hi Rick, how you doing?
Fine, buddy. Good to have you with us today.
We tried a couple times and it's been some difficulties, but we finally got it together. I like it.
Well, I like it too, and I really like your studio, man. I'd take that redwood over velvet curtains any day of the week.
Well, you can't see it, but I have velvet curtains on the other side, so
Oh, okay.
purple and blue, I think. So yeah.
That's cool. Well, it looks really neat, and thanks for doing this today. It's been a trying time for all of us, as we well know. But you know, at least the nice thing about being a performing songwriter is that you can still keep doing your craft and still following your passion and doing all the things that you do as songwriter and performer and producer and all of the hats that you wear. I thought what we would do, Stephen, before we really get into the meat of this show is, a while back I saw a really cool Meet Stephen McClintock piece on Facebook. And so what I want you to do is just take a few minutes and tell us all about Stephen McClintock and how you roll, man.
You know what's kind of funny about that is I can never think what is about Stephen McClintock when I'm trying to do that. But I'm going to give you some stuff anyway. So I was from Beaumont, Texas originally, and you played music or football or worked in the chemical plants or a rice farmer. I mean, there were things to do in the town. It was a great place to grow up, but music was huge there. And that's where I kind of got the bug, early on. I met Benny Barnes and Huey Moe and all these great people, and that led me to kind of get to California eventually someday and see if I could make some difference, So I started there and worked in the Houston clubs, for a bit, and then moved out to California to try to make it big. And along the way, played with a bunch of different groups, which will probably come up in time as we talk. But got out here and within a couple months got signed to Arista Records and Island Music. And boy, I thought the whole world was, in my palm of my hands at that point in time, So my first cut I got with Island was a Juice Newton cut. And that happened because my business partner that I've been with for 44 years now, Tim James, he was friends with Juice. And I went to his house and recorded a 4-track of 3 songs, 2 of which I thought were like really good ones, and the other one was a throwaway for me. And of course, that's the one he loved and took to Juice, and she cut it on Capitol Records. So it was a fun little start to get things going, and from there we worked on our record deal with a guy named Fred Mullins, and started doing that. Fred had just done Sometimes When We Touch by Dan Hill, which is a big old record. And Clive Davis, who signed us to Arista, just loved that record and thought that our direction with my duo, David Fertitta, should be that direction. We were supposed to be the Air Supply before Air Supply. And there were issues that just didn't work out between the producers and Clive and David and such. And so we got in and cut some stuff, but never got a release on it. So it wasn't till about 25 years later, we finished that record with most of the same players and the same producer, and finally got that record out in 2008, I think it was. So that was kind of a milestone for me. I remember singing one of the songs in the studio in Nashville with all those original players that had all moved to Nashville, which was par for the course kind of in LA. The great players went there. And I teared up singing this song because I thought it took so long to get to that place that we were finally going to finish this damn record. So it was great. I sent it off to Clive, and all those years later, he made all his people sit around the table and listen to the whole album, all 14 songs, and then called me with everybody sitting there. So it's kind of a great experience for me to have, you know. Now, I wish he'd have taken it and ran with it and been Air Supply Part 2 or something, but he didn't do that. So that was kind of cool. And in the meantime, I really started writing a lot, starting with Island, and then I went over to the Welk Group, which was owned by Lawrence Welk and eventually purchased by Polygram. And that during that time, I had written a bunch of great songs and was really spreading out kind of my writing things, writing with more than just a couple writers. I was really going, let's see what I can do. And I didn't consider myself a lyricist per se, even though I wrote lyrics. I tended to go with people that were writing lyrics and I would put music to it. That's taken so many different circles as I've gone through, 38 plus years of writing or whatever it's been, 40. Gosh, that number's getting bigger every time I turn around and look. And so I became a pretty good songwriter, and I went from there. I went over to George Tobin Music, where we connected with the Tiffany world and quite a few other people. Taja Seville, we got cuts by. And Tiffany ended up cutting about, I think, 15 or 16 of my songs over the years, from 87 to 94. And then, of course, a couple years back, she cut another one on her, one of her albums called A Million Miles. And so that was fun. Again, a big circle back around to the artist that was 14 when I met her, and now, she's 40-something making another record. So it's kind of fun. And then I went to Nashville. I decided in '93 I'd found this guy named Paul Jefferson. You might know Paul. I don't know. He's a great country writer. He wrote a song. We had a #1 with Paul with our publishing company called That's As Close As I'll Get to Loving You, which is a classic country by Aaron Tippin. And we signed him here and took him to Nashville. I bought a house there. We built a studio downstairs. We did what everybody that moves to Nashville does. That's what we did. And started making records on Paul. And eventually got him a record deal with Alamo Sound, with Garth Fundis producing, which was a big deal. And just kept moving forward. And after I got him settled, I decided I kind of wanted to write for another company again. So I signed a co-pub deal with McJames to work for Sony ATV. And I did a 2-year agreement there. And while I was doing that, one of the good and bad things is that now I was known as a player too, acoustic player. So I went on tour with Victoria Shaw, and then followed by the Nelsons. And so I wasn't in Nashville probably as much as I should have been. If you know Nashville, they really want you to be there. And I would come and go because I was working. One of my issues, pluses and minuses at the same time, is I don't want to just do one thing. I get bored doing one thing. I like writing songs. I like singing. I like performing. I love backing up other people. I like producing other people. So I would say that's a downfall as much as it is a real plus, because maybe if I'd just done the one thing, as my publishing partner keeps telling me, be the greatest publisher you can be. Well, I want you to be that part for me, with me. I want to be all these things and bring it to the table. So it's been a really fun ride. I moved back to California when we were having my son. This was probably right after 9/11. Everything changed. So I slowed down my touring. In fact, the last show I did was the Daughter of the Revolution Hall with the Nelsons, where I got to meet Aretha Franklin and Muhammad Ali. And that was a huge, good final closeout for me on that touring perspective of my life, till my son got older, and he's now just turned 18. So all this is going to be changing again, and as a plan. That's what I want to happen. So it brings me back to today, where we are.
You You mentioned your son. Now you've got a daughter also, Tessa. Is that a biological daughter?
Oh boy, is it. You have no idea. No, yes, Tessa is a wonderful, beautiful talent, wonderful girl, smart, everything going for her. She was born in Canada. So when I was living in Canada, I'd started a company with my brother-in-law called Song Catalog. And we were very early on um, cataloging songs and pitching from a website. Nobody had really done it. And we started this, got funding, everything. It was going along just beautifully. Tessa was probably she was born the very month that I moved from Nashville to there to work to start this new company. And when 9/11 hit, everything changed. The people with the money were very affected with it all, with some of their people and their finances, everything. And in 2 days, the project was put away, and we were, I don't know, I think a week from getting our second tranche of funding, and everything changed. Just like for a lot of people, the world changed that day for so many people. And I had to pivot and decided to get with my wife, agreed to actually leave Canada, which I never thought she would. And now I couldn't get her to go back if she, no matter what I paid her to go, she wouldn't go. And and we redid it down here. And I thought if I'm going to get down here, I'm going to go back to busting my butt on songwriting, publishing, restart my label again, 37 Records, because I had it in the 80s and did a bunch of things with it, and then kind of let it sit there for a while. And then so we kicked it back into gear. I signed a few acts. We started working with Shiny Toy Guns. I signed White Apple Tree, which was done very well for me in Europe. We signed Paul to the label so we could, we really did it so we could get these masters done and be really presentable so we could get film, TV, multimedia, and we were quite successful with that. We had, in the 90s, we had just about every single show on the tube, on TV, we had a song in, from Brothers and Sisters, Dirty Sexy Money, The Gossip Girls, Grey's Anatomy. I mean, all these major play TV shows. We had
Dog the
stuff.
Bounty Hunter.
Yeah, we have Dog the Bounty Hunter. We had what's the old guys that are in the woods and the shoot
John?
no the I can't remember what they call. We have a ton of songs on that from Stephen Petrie, one of our writers,
Yeah.
and it's the old guys that look like they're running the moon stills almost.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I can't think of their names. I know who you're talking about though. That's
Yeah.
cool.
So just
Another
all kinds
another
of
guy that you've got with you that I've really been impressed with is Michael Peterson.
Yeah, Michael's great. I forgot we did that record just a few years ago. That was an interesting thing because Michael and I had met in '97 and '98, I think, at Warner Brothers. First time I actually met him was at his number one party, and up on the rooftop of Warner Brothers. And I loved him. I thought he was a super talent, super guy, and he went on and did a couple of really good records and sold a couple million copies. And then I wasn't in touch with him anymore because my life changed too, and he got very involved in the services as far as going overseas and playing for armed services and all that world. And we kind of lost track. And then when I was starting my songwriter series 6 years ago, 7 years ago, I looked him up, found him. He lived in Vegas, invited him to come do a show. And from that, we just kept talking. And we decided he was playing at Branson at the time. And we decided to do a record of the covers that he was singing in Branson. And we did it. I co-produced it with Billy Yates and him. And Billy's another huge talent. And Michael just blew me away. We cut all the tracks in Nashville and did all the vocals in Nashville. And then I came back here and did all the editing and all the mixing and got with Buddy Hyatt again, also on a few things in Nashville, and created this beautiful record called Drink, Swear, Steal, and Lie. And all the songs are covers except one song that I wrote called Borderline. It's the last song on the record. And if you get a chance, go listen to that song. I love that song. I
I
wrote that
will.
with Jeff Peterson and Tim James. And
Ke-
so Michael and I, during COVID, the contracts kind of ran out. So, but we're still in touch. We still talk, every other week, and we still have plans to do a bunch of things with the project and even some other projects we're talking about. But that 2 years we've just lost. You were talking earlier about how you're able to do this as a musician. Well, there was a lot we weren't able to do. As a songwriter, as a singer, I could sit and write songs all day, and it meant after about 2 weeks, I was going, all right, don't want to do that anymore. So performing was the thing I missed the most, getting out there, testing those songs, letting people hear them. It was all dead. There was no place to go with that. And I made some other decisions during that time because I'd never really worked as a soloist. I mean, I always have a duo or a trio or a band or people I like to work with, or I'm working, with Victoria Shaw, or I'm working as a trio with the Nelsons or a four-piece with the Nelsons. I loved that stuff. But I realized that I couldn't control any of it. I was limited with everything, and so I decided to kick into learning to be a single and being a solo artist. Still doing all the work with anybody that wants to work with me and we get together with, and man, I'm all in it. But just, being able to go out and play. And the first time there was a club open in Orange County, California, I went and got a gig. And now I'm playing a couple of times a month there. I'm doing house concerts all over the country of the people that aren't, frightened of it, frightened of what we're going through. And it's working. It's working great. I'm feeling like I'm a better singer than I ever was. It's probably just making it up in my head, but that's how I feel. And I don't know. I just have more opportunity and more. Feel more creative. Feel like I've just been given a new lease on life, sort of.
Well,
You
it's
know.
great that you're able to satisfy your creative juices because that's important in the life of a musician for sure, man. And that's a major aspect of the whole music package. One of the names that I would be remiss if I didn't uh, bring up is Kevin Fisher.
Yes,
Um,
one of my
Kevin
best friends in the whole wide world.
Kevin, wow, what a force to be reckoned with. I love the beer songs. When you sent me that one several months ago, the Beer Blue Sky, I just
Yeah,
love the harmony on that song. I cannot get enough of that song. Every time I hear it, I'm going, wow, this sounds as good as the Eagles ever sounded. It's
yeah,
just,
that's definitely one that when you play that particular song, something about the melody and the sound, you cannot get enough of it. I'm the same way. I'll get it on, I'll repeat it. Once I hear it again, I'll repeat that song 10 times before I get out of the car. I love it too. And
it's
thank you
so
for that. I
it's
appreciate
so
that.
great. And you and I don't know if your relationship with her started when you were in Nashville, but you and I have a common musician friend, musician sister, Tia McGrath and Tommy Parham. They're dear friends of ours, and I've booked her numerous times here in El Paso. But I also did a podcast with her back when I first started my talk and rock show, and I was so happy. 3 nights ago, she got an award, a Posey Award for "Go Your Own Way,"
Yeah.
which was written by who we're talking about right now, Kevin Fisher, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Kevin, she and Tommy all wrote that. I put them together. Um, they were coming to town and they said, we need some stuff. And I thought I got the right songwriter. And they wrote several things. Another song to look for on their record that they called Moving the Smoke Away. Really good one too. And Tia and we met in the funniest circumstances. A guy in Canada, I was living in Vancouver, BC, and she was as well, I believe, and she was working with Randy Bachman on some stuff from uh, Guess Who and Bachman Turner Overdrive, and He was gonna be out of town, so we went to his house and wrote our first song together called "Strong Enough," and that's how I met her. And that was probably 1998,
Wow.
99. So way back there, a long time ago. And then of course we, worked, knew each other in Nashville and worked on a couple things. We did a Bluebird show together with Wood Newton and stuff, and we just stayed in touch. And so I handle my company, McJames handles all her admin worldwide for their songs that they go out. So basically that means we collect money for them. So um, I'm never satisfied that we've collected enough, and I'm sure they aren't either, because it's a difficult thing. But we have a beautiful network for it, and we're able to kind of pick up these things when they're out there that might get lost. And so we've just stayed close, and this song "Go Your Own Way" got cut by a duo up in Canada about 2 years ago, a country guys, and we just knew it had some legs on it, this particular song, and it still does. So this is just the beginning for that song. And like Tia said in a text to me, this is the beginning. We're starting right now. And I got it. I love it. That's where we're going. So anytime they come out, they stayed at my place. I hook them up with writers, and we work together. And I trust her. I trust Tommy. They're special people to me. And so putting them with Kevin was no stretch at all, because I knew that they would come up with beautiful things.
Well, we've been talking a lot about some good stuff here, but I need you to pick up your guitar
All right, I can do
and
that.
and so we can show everybody out there what Stephen McClintock's all about. And I'm going to
Oh,
let you.
I need to give a shout out to my T-shirt though. Hang on.
Okay,
Figure out how
cool. The Big
Okay,
Island, yeah.
this is Big Island, Indian Harbor Lake, Nova Scotia. This goes out to all my friends I've been unable to see for 2 years over in Sherbrooke Village, Nova Scotia. And you guys, I can't name you all, or I'll forget somebody, but you know who you are. They missed me, and they made this shirt for me. This is a one-off shirt. There's not another one like it, though I intend to have some more like it.
That's
So
cool. Very
they'll
cool.
all be watching when it's time. So where would you like to start, Rick? What would you like to hear? This is how I like to do it. You're my audience, man, so you got to decide what you want.
Well, you know what? I'm going to kind of leave this up to you because you're the storyteller,
Okay.
and there's
All
no
right.
right way or wrong way to do this. The one that I really want you to do is "What Will My Kids Say?" because that song means a lot to me. The first time I heard you perform that, it spoke to me, and I think it was at Songwriters where I first saw that. I know I've seen you do it at some house concerts, but I love that song. If you want
Well,
to kick it
let's
off with
kick it
that.
off with that one. Yeah, I'll give a little background of that. I was sitting in my house in Nashville, and Pamela Olin, one of the writers that is with McJames, we handle her copyrights worldwide as well. She was there with my roommate at the time, Doak Turner. And we were at 701 Brook Hollow, which has a story of its own. That's a whole nother thing we should talk about one day. And I was going through a little rough patch with my ex-wife, trying to figure out where we went wrong, where we went right, what we were going to do with our kids, how we're going to handle that. And I had this idea, and with Doak, and we decided to sit down one day on the couch and work on it. And I cried when I wrote this song again. Now you'd think I'm awfully teary-eyed, but I guess I actually am. But if you're getting a lyric that touches you and gets you, and you've got it, it's a pretty cool feeling. The greatest gift I ever got was seeing that first smile on my kid's face. Man, you should have been there. And I like to think I see just a little bit of me in some small way, like any proud dad. And I hope he thinks a lot of me when he grows big and tall. Then every sacrifice I made will be well worth it all. I want my kid to know my heart. I'd like for him to think I'm smart, to tell his friends my dad's the best. I hope I stand out from the rest. I know some days I'll fail him, I'm just human after all. But I'm hoping he'll still love me anyway. What will my kid say? I want to teach him things I know, the stuff he'll only learn from his old man. I hope he thinks I'm cool. What a trip to watch him grow. Take a step or two and then let go of my hand. Man, that's tough for me. And I'll make sure he can talk to me about anything at all. And I hope he grabs my hand again if he ever starts to fall. I want my kid to know my heart. I'd like for him to think I'm smart, to tell his friends my dad's the best. I hope I stand out from the rest. I know some days I'll fail him, I'm just human after all. But I'm hoping he'll still love me anyway. What will my kid say? I wish I could be a fly upon the wall when he's talking to his friends. Will he brag on how I'm there for him? Will he think I'm always fair to him? Will he know how much I care for him when he becomes a man? I want my kid to know my heart. I'd like for him to think I'm smart, to tell his friends my dad's the best. I hope I stand out from the rest. I know some days I'll fail him, I'm just human after all. But I'm hoping he'll still love me anyway. Yeah, I'm praying he'll still love me anyway. What will my kids say?
Oh man, I love that. I love it. I love it. I love it.
I have that's a song that's funny because I have a daughter as well, right? So when each one's in the audience, I have to change the pronouns each time. So that's
That's
it's
all right. You
yeah, it's a
mentioned
good one.
you mentioned earlier about Newton, Juice Newton, um, and you got a gold record with her, right?
With
Oh
Juice,
no,
I
no,
did not get a gold record,
Tiffany.
but
Tiffany's who I
yeah,
was
with
thinking of.
Tiffany, I did. I've got. I'm looking at them on the wall here. You can't see them, but we're gonna send you a picture. I think. I went 4 times platinum with Tiffany, and close to 5 now, on one album, and double platinum or triple platinum on the other album. Triple platinum, I think. And of course, gold records come with that first. You go 500,000, then a million, it's platinum, and then on and on. And I had a song on her very first album. That was an interesting story. It kind of difficult because we'd worked a deal to sign with George Tobin for this project. We weren't really signed as writers for him at that point. We were just working on this project, and his way of doing it was we'd write a verse and a chorus, and if it wasn't about anything except this one album we were doing for MCA, write a verse and a chorus. If you didn't like it, put it aside, go write another verse in the chorus. Don't like it, put it aside. And we wrote 18 songs like that before we nailed the one song that made the record.
Wow.
And I always thought that song that made the record should have been a single. It was such a great song for her and for a kid. It was called Kid on a Corner, was the name of it, right? And it's just like, I'm not gonna be just a kid on a corner, hiding my heart, saving my love any longer. I'm not gonna be just a kid on a corner, a kid on a corner. Perfect for her. Anyway, they loved it. She recorded it. That album sold 4.5 million copies. Pretty cool.
Nice. Really cool. Yeah. And that was, what year was that?
80, 87, 88. That record ran, and then by the winter of 88, we released the new album, and I had the first single off the new album at that point was All This Time. So I went from writing 18 songs and getting nothing on there except one to getting 2 songs on the next record and the first single, which was kind of fun.
I know I mentioned earlier about Juice Newton. You did 3 or 4 songs that you wrote with her. I know one of them was done a Christmas song, and that was redone by Andy Williams, Pat Boone. You got some others in there too. Who else recorded that?
Yeah. One of my favorite versions was a band in Australia on EMI called Wickety Whack. I think you still find them, of course, online because they were hugely popular. But that was the very second, I think the second version we had, and I love that version. It's very family oriented, really beautiful. And I also, the guy from Danny Shirley from what's the band that did Trashy Woman? Sorry, I'm going blank.
Oh,
You know what I'm talking, Confederate
yeah,
Railroad.
yeah.
He cut it as a solo. He cut a Christmas version of it, which was kind of fun. Very country feeling,
Yeah.
and then Juice has 2 different versions of it, and each pretty slightly different. Pat Boone did it live, and Andy Williams has probably 3 different versions of it, I guess, and probably 17, 18 records it's on of just him alone.
Are you
So that's
staying in touch with Juice Newton at all?
I don't anymore. I did reach out a while back. In fact, for a Kevin Fisher song, I found that I thought would be great for her as a recording, and we just never seemed to connect. So I don't really stay in touch with her. My friend Tim, my partner Tim James, he stays in touch with her more. They were more long-term friends for 40-something years. We were friends in the music world, and her boyfriend and producer at the time, Otha Young, was really more of my. Otha's passed away since, but he was my real champion with that. With the Christmas song, he cut it first with Juice, and then she fell in love with it and cut it again. So
Yeah.
I'd like to be in touch with her a little more than I am, to be honest, and I may try to make that happen. I had this great, like I say, great song that Kevin wrote that it's Juice Newton all over it. I mean, if she's recording something, it should be there. I hope you're listening, Juice.
I was going to say maybe that'll be her next breakout because she needs something. She hasn't really had anything for a while, so maybe that would be one that'll do
I
it.
think
Yeah.
she's loving her life, and as we all know, that's part of the reason of why you try to get there, so you can enjoy the things. I mean, that's certainly where I am right now. I'm picking and choosing what I'm doing. I'm not taking everything. I'm not writing with every writer that crosses my doorstep. I'm very picky, and that doesn't mean I don't love everybody. It just means I have to give some time to myself now, and I've kind of never done that.
Well, then, in regards to that, let's talk a moment about Dave Fertitta, because I know you and he collaborated for many years together, performed many times together. Are you still writing together, or have you done anything with Dave in a while?
No, we stopped working together during the COVID thing. It just we couldn't work. I think we did one job during that, and our main thing together was almost retro, nostalgic to some degree. I mean, we knew each other in high school. He was in 10th grade, I was in 11th grade when we met, and he was truly a hero of mine as far as he was the first guy I knew that actually wrote songs. I mean, things that I aspired to do, but mine never sounded like songs. Mine just sounded like something I didn't play guitar yet. I only played piano. And so it just wasn't the same. You couldn't sit in an open grassy field and play piano, and I would sit there, I have a picture in my yearbook, one of the yearbooks, and it's me sitting in a circle, a clover circle, with everybody there, and David's playing guitar, and I'm longingly looking at him wanting to be doing just that. So we went through a whole lot of history before we actually got together, and I mean, we played a bunch of different things. We were in a rock band together called Job for 5 minutes. We played in Houston at the Houston Oaks Hotel, the Galleria, when it first was built. And that was a big deal back in the day. It's back in the early 70s. And that's where I ended up meeting the other folk group, Medler and Rustrum, that took me to the West Coast, because that's where I really wanted to be. So I've been in a lot of history, and then from that Medler Rustrum thing, David and I eventually got back together, but back in L.A. So everything goes for a reason, there's a story to everything. But he was the guy that influenced me to write, and I always wanted to be a better writer, if for no other reason to keep up with him, to show him I could write songs too,
And I might add, you guys sounded so good together. Your voices.
Harmonies were the thing for both of us, because
Yeah.
we would play live, and when we'd hit it right, when we'd hit our stride in the course of a night, we both knew it, and there was no turning back from it. I mean, it was like a drug. It really was. We were both willing to put up with a lot of shit from each other for this drug, because when we hit it, we were as good as anybody in the world, and we knew it.
Nothing
But,
like that feeling, man. When
right.
I first left El Paso to go out to California, like you were talking about, hit the big time, and our band, we did well. We were playing the New Porter Inn, Disneyland Hotel, Charlie Brown's in Huntington Beach. We grand opened that room, so we were doing great stuff, but there was issues in the band. One of them was being created by the wife of the keyboard player. So that didn't work. They were having issues. Yeah. Well, welcome to rock and roll. And they eventually divorced, but we're not here to talk about that. But
So you were right. So you were right all along.
well, I was right all along, but they weren't listening to me, but anyway, I became an available singing drummer. And so I went to my union and posted my picture and put it up on the board, singing drummer looking for work, we'll work for food, right?
Yeah.
And this is like in 73. So anyway, getting back to what we were just talking about, I get this call from these two guys, a keyboard player and a guitar player, and they were up in Westminster, and
Yeah.
where the keyboard player lived, and they were looking for a drummer that could sing. So what you just said a minute ago, when you hit it right. Well, when we got
Right.
together for the very first time in Kurt's living room, and I'm getting my audition, we knew it was right. The harmonies,
Yeah.
we were doing stuff that was just incredible. 2 weeks later, we're playing at the Sahara in Lake Tahoe. So
Yeah. See, there's nothing like hitting your stride with a couple of 3 or 4 musicians that all get it.
Yeah.
And that's where David and I were when we got to that point. Back when we got together in L.A. and we got our record deal with Clive. We had our deal with Island Music first, and then they took us in to meet with Clive at Bungalow 12 at the Beverly Hills Hotel.
Yeah.
And we're just sitting there with 2 guitars and our voices, and we play live for Clive, and he listens to a couple things and says, "Well, I like that you've written songs with modulations in them. so I don't have to think about it. So we wrote these beautiful ballads. We wrote big ballads that were gorgeous, and almost 3/4 of them had a modulations. You could, you know, something, going to it. And he said, "Would you like to be on my new label, Arista Records?" And we're both going,
Let me think about this a
is
minute.
this a trick question? So just having that proximity to that, and David and I knowing when we're sitting in that room that we're killing it, we knew we were. We knew if he didn't take it, it wasn't because we didn't do our job, So, and the fact we didn't even get out of the room before he said, "You got a deal," was a testament to it. We knew we knew what we were, how we were doing it,
Yeah.
That was fun.
Time for another song, my friend.
All right, let's see what I got. As you know, I've recently bought a little place in Texas, trying to get back to my roots a little bit. Going along with what we were talking about earlier, that at some point you got to start doing things for you a bit. I mean, you're doing your podcast, that's for you. You help a lot of people with it, but you're doing it because it's a creative outlet for you. And so Texas is a place that it's home. It's always been home. I have so many friends there throughout the whole state. I don't want to let them go yet, and some of them are getting older, and well, all of them are getting older. And I want to be around them, I want to go to barbecues. I want to do that stuff. So I also want to redevelop and kick in my musical roots, because back in the day, in 74, 75, 76, 77, I mean, we played Kerrville Folk Festival twice. We toured around. We opened for Michael Martin Murphy before he was Martin. Just Michael Murphy. We opened for Willie Nelson and Waylon. We did all these tours. We played with all the redneck guys from those days, from that 76, 78. So it was a great place. I mean, to be able to walk into a little room of 5 people and hear Willis Allen Ramsey doing Angel Eyes, it just killed me, and I love it. And every time I go back, I get filled with all that stuff. That's what I want. That's what I want to be in my, and not just, I don't want to sit there in a room and die there. I want to play and work and be a part of it. So this is a little song that kind of speaks a little bit. I wrote this with another Texas boy. We analyze, we compromise. Are we doing something wrong? We contemplate the give and take and keep each other hanging on. Can I start that one over?
You can start that one all over again, man. You want a countdown?
No, I think I want to do a different key, because I don't want to. I'm going to take it up a little bit. I was afraid I was going to get to a spot that it was going to be not going to work. All right, take 2.
Take 2.
So this song I wrote with a guy in Nashville, but he's from Texas, named Tom Douglas, one of the finest writers in Nashville. We analyze, we compromise. Are we doing something wrong? We contemplate the give and take and keep each other hanging on. Sometimes we gotta go through this to find out what love is. It's bigger softer than a lullaby, the answer to the question why. That's what love is. You feel it in a baby's touch. You cannot give away too much. You never seem to get enough. That's what love is. We've won, we've lost, we paid the cost. Baby, look at where we are. Let's forget all that and don't look back. Love's the only place to start. And give back to the things we miss. And remember what love is. It's bigger than a Texas sky, softer than a lullaby, the answer to the question why. That's what love is. You feel it in a baby's touch. You cannot give away too much. You never seem to get enough. That's what love is. Sometimes we gotta go through this to find out where love is. It's bigger than a Texas sky, softer than a lullaby, the answer to the question why. That's what love is. You feel it in a baby's touch. You cannot give away too much. You never seem to get enough. Oh, that's what love is. Oh, that's what love is.
I love those lyrics. Those are really nice, man. Really
I really
nice.
like the song. It got cut by a Canadian guy that did a really nice job of it, and his last name is Vance. I can't remember his first name, but I really loved his version. He had a real Vince Gill kind of voice, and this song lends itself very, very nicely to that. But he still gets a lot of play in Canada on it, actually, and that's the only real cut it's had. So I'm still pushing it. You know, I might release it in Texas as my own thing. You know, kind of wait and see.
Good. I got to tell people that are just joining in that when they see this, the person that you're looking at playing that guitar and singing so great is not Terry Quinlan. It's Stephen McClintock. Down in the corner there, it has the name.
Changing my name though. Yeah. No, it's not Terry Quinlan, but she's behind the scenes.
That's right.
Behind the scenes, right
She's
there.
she's the co-producer of the studio in Long Beach right now.
He
So
owns the laptop. See, that's the good, and the lighting. So
there you go. There
if
you
you don't
go.
have lighting, you got nothing. You know.
You know, there were a couple things I was gonna ask you today in this interview, but I'm not even gonna ask it now because you've just done it in your music, and it had to do with inspiration. But you know, that's one thing I love about you as a songwriter performer is that your inspiration is built into your music. I mean, you can just feel the, I don't know, it's just there, and that's how I know when I hear a great song that's going to really have major potential. And you're the whole package, I mean, and I'm not blowing smoke here. I mean, we know that you're great, and what you do is really to be commended. I'm going to ask you another question though.
Sure.
For an aspiring songwriter out there, what advice would you give somebody that is trying to become a great songwriter, and when I say great, that's going to really be a mover and shaker in the industry. What kind of advice can you give them, Stephen, that would be something that they could take and use?
Well, there's so many different schools of thought on other songwriters giving songwriters advice. But
Sure.
if it were me, and what I tried to do, and I like to listen to the people that I want to emulate, that I believe are great, and that could be anybody from the guy that writes for Uriah Heep to Dan Fogelberg. I mean, it's a big, huge mix for me. And then I want to listen to all that. I want to learn structure. I want to learn what it's different from some people maybe today than it was in my day. Radio was the key. It was all about radio. If you couldn't write a complete thought in 3 minutes, you weren't going to get much radio airplay unless you were Led Zeppelin, you know. So today it's a little different. So again, though, I think there's two things I would say. I would say learn all you can learn from everybody. You know, even people you go, that's not my genre. That's Johnny Cash. That has nothing to do with my rock world. Learn what you can learn, and then kind of go in with the presence of mind of, now that you've learned it, put it all aside and try to find your creative your juice. You know, what turns you loose. You know, what makes it work for you. In your style of music, and your people, you know, the people you're going to play to. What are you going to perform to? You know, what are you working on? What's your deal? And the second thing would be, and I tell this anytime I've done a lot of speaking in the past at events and around the world, from Hong Kong to the Netherlands to everywhere. And the one thing that, if you're going to be involved in this world of music and music business as it is, you better love it, because it's going to kick the crap out of you a bunch of times. I wasn't married 4 times because it was fun, because I just wanted to give away all my money every single time. That's not why I did it. It was difficult. It's hard to be on the road and to be that person all the time, and it's tough on relationships and your kids and everybody. All of that's difficult. That's why when my son was born, I decided to change that up a bit and make it a better world for him. You know, I didn't stop what I was doing. I focused even harder, but I was home. You know, I could stay home. And, you know, my first 3 relationships, they didn't see me, you know. We loved from a distance, and that wasn't a good thing in the long run. So if you don't really love what you're doing and are willing to give a lot to it, and that sometimes can be super painful, largely you're going to get walked over by all those that are going to work that much harder, that little tiny, tiny bit harder. That doesn't mean you don't sit in your bedroom and write the hit. You know, it happens. And we all love it when we can write a song in 20 minutes and somebody cuts it and it's a big record. And that's a fantastic feeling. You didn't have to kill yourself to get it. But the norm is people have to work really hard, and you have to be a little bit better. You have to work a little bit better. Your delivery has to be stronger. You have to show up more times. You have to, you know, get more people on your mailing list. I mean, what's it gonna take to get the end result? You know, and everything changes. You know, we're seeing a change right now. in music and what's going on and who's listening. I noticed coming back in, which is the perfect time to go back to the single thing, being a solo, by getting out there and playing again. And I do, a quarter of my stuff is original every night, and then I do some covers, because I'm playing to make people happy, and I want to make myself happy. When they're happy, I'm happier, and I get that opportunity, and that translates into finances for me, because when somebody wants to hear a Beatles song, and I can do, you know how long I love, you know where I'm going. I can't sing it, but you know where I'm going. I can do that song, and I can watch those people really loving it. And they, in turn, the one thing they can do back for musicians, which we all need all that help all the time, give them praise and tip them, help them, help them be able to grow their craft and be able to change things, because that's a big, big part of it all. How are you going to survive while you're trying to do this? My daughter works in a coffee shop today. She's working right now as she puts herself through school as a vocal jazz major in Long Beach State. So she doesn't want to work in that coffee shop, but she needs that money. So these are things, if you got to be willing to give yourself to get something. That's my 2 cents.
Well said. Very, very well said. We're going to do another episode that you and I have talked about. In that episode, we'll have Tessa there, and maybe Kathy if she's available or whatever, your ex. But it'll be fun to hear how the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. You guys are so good, such a talented family, and what I want to go ahead and do now, I want to thank you again for doing this show with me today, Stephen. And I got to say that it was a blessing for me years ago to hear about Stephen McClintock being talked about from a dear friend of mine, Dennis Rochford from Springfire Vocal Show Band here in El Paso. We go way, way, way back together.
He and I are born on the same day.
Fantastic. That's
we both
cool.
have a birthday coming up, October 9th.
How cool is that? And my daughter's birthday is October 19th, so it's a great month, and
Great month.
We'll get to celebrate her birthday, for the first time in many, many, many years, but because they're always in Austin and everything, but it'll be fun. But it's I just have to say, meeting you has really been an important part of my recent life. I've only known you for about 3 years, I guess, but someday it would be fun to sit and harmonize with you, and maybe we can get Dennis in on that too,
Yeah, we'll need him,
we'll need him.
3 parts,
Yeah. I mean, you and I are in the higher range. Of course, we'll have to rekey it some because I'm not able to sing like I used to, because I used to do it 6 nights a week, and it's been a long time. But we can rekey it. It's like everything. But thank you again for this, and I'm going to ask you now to take us out, take us out of the show with another song that's your choice, whatever you think you'd like to sing about.
I'm going to stay with the Texas theme.
Okay.
I grew up in Beaumont, Texas. Born in Fort Worth, but grew up in Beaumont. All my good friends are there still, most of them. Lynn Tiller, Gary Monkla, Pat Lichtenstein, all of them. There's just a plethora of great guys that I love there. And I won't be counting the women for the fear that their husbands might get mad at me, so I'm going to leave that alone. But growing up, I was a Southern Baptist kid, and there was some puritanical ways in the times when we grew up, in those days. I remember we weren't even allowed to swim in the same swimming pool when I was very, very young with females. So it was a pretty crazy thing to grow into and change from. And I was sitting in Nashville with a couple guys called the Warren Brothers who did pretty well. And I was at Sony at the time, and we wrote this song. Started with a slow dance, a simple little kiss. This feeling that I'm feeling wasn't supposed to feel like this. A little bit of passion, a tender kind of touch. And you're afraid this moment will never mean enough. My left hand on the Bible, my right hand on my heart. You can be the key to my survival, my lighthouse in the dark. I will take an oath to always be there, and I swear I'll never lie. With God my judge and jury, I testify. I've never gone the distance, it's always been too hard. But if you promise me forever, I know I can go that far. And I will put my left hand on the Bible, my right hand on my heart. You can be the key to my survival, my lighthouse in the dark. Always be there, and I swear I'll never lie. With God my judge and jury, I testify. Here with the moonlight shining on your skin, I feel just like a child baptized again. So pull me close, never let me go. And I will put my left hand on the Bible, my right hand on my heart. You can be the key to my survival, my lighthouse in the dark. I will take an oath to always love you, and I swear I'll never lie. With God my judge and jury, my God my judge, my jury, I testify. Oh yeah, I testify. Oh yeah, I testify. Yeah. There you go. Testify.
Nice, nice. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for the help, Terry.
Welcome.
And you guys have a great rest of your weekend, and I'm looking forward to.
Patience, by the way.
What's that?
Thanks for your patience getting me on.
Well, thank you.
Getting my phone stolen last week kind of messed me up for a while. So.
Well, stuff happens, man, and well, look at it this way: you got your brand new phone.
I do.
Yeah,
I love it.
Just don't set it down. Don't help any other old ladies anytime soon.
I'm never pulling a chair out for a woman again in my life. Okay, there, right.
Put the phone back in your pocket when you do.
All right, Rick. Thanks. Tell
Thank you,
Paso
buddy.
hi.
Love you, man. Take care.
Love you too.
Bye bye.